ahead.
Okay. As a preliminary, excuse me, let's start over again. As a preliminary matter, this is Veronica Bolchik from the Contract Review Committee. Permit me to confirm that all members and persons anticipated on the agenda are present and can hear me. Members, when I call your name, please respond in the affirmative. John Balash?
John Balash is here.
Joanna Roach?
Joanna Roach is here.
Sue Minthinen?
Sue Minton here.
And Veronica Bolchik here. Staff, when I call your name, please respond in the affirmative. Jericho Melee?
In attendance.
All right. Tamika Gray?
Here.
Heather?
Heather.
Nardone? Nardone, very good. All right. And anticipated on the speakers, can you please, I'll do first from the screen and then folks that are in the audience here. So I see, and I'm reading very clear, Kim Mead Walters.
Kim Mead Walters present.
Okay, and Jackie Lane.
Here.
All right, and if you could please introduce yourselves.
I'm Holly McDowell.
Okay,
Hi, I'm Chris Denise.
good, thank you. All righty. Good afternoon. This is an open public meeting of the Contract Review Committee. It is being conducted remotely pursuant to Chapter 20 of Acts of 2021. Ensuring public access does not ensure public participation unless participation is required by law. This meeting will feature public comment. For this meeting, the Contract Review Committee is convening by video conference via Zoom app as posted on the town's website. Please note that this meeting is being recorded, that all attendees are participating hybridly, some video and some in person. Accordingly, be aware that folks may be able to see you and take care not to share your computer screen. Anything that you broadcast may be captured by the recording. All meeting materials, supporting materials have been provided to members of the body and are available on the website unless otherwise noted. Public is encouraged to follow along using the posted agenda. Okay, we are now turning to the first item on the agenda. Before we do so, permit me to cover some ground rules for effective and clear conduct of our business and to ensure accurate meeting minutes. Typically, I will introduce people, and rather than reading this, because we'll make this a free-flowing question answer, not following going through the chair. So we're going to bypass that. So let me go to the agenda. If I could find the agenda. There we go. So we have established a quorum. Approval of the agenda. Can I have a motion?
I so move.
Second.
Okay, thank you. Meeting minutes. Do we have any minutes to?
We are going to be sharing the minutes. Tamika,
I did email everyone with the minutes.
so we have the minutes up until the previous meeting that should be emailed out today.
Okay.
If we'd like to have them approved on Thursday, that would
Okay.
be the easiest
So
way
if
to
we
do it.
can just move that, we'll move that to our Thursday meeting.
If possible, we'll have today's meeting ready for that time as well, just to get it all wrapped up.
Okay, so if I could ask everyone to review the minutes, if we can get today's, we can do it all on Thursday. All right, so we're gonna start our interview process, and we have NAMI up first. So Jackie, would you like to take the lead? And would you like to join the table?
Sure.
Okay.
You guys want to
Yes.
have it up here? That might be the easiest way. so
Right.
at least
That way we're
all-
looking,
Yes, I certainly will take the lead.
thank you.
This is a very ambitious project, and it's been kind of in the making for about 3 years. And it's part of the general NAMI commitment, the whole NAMI Cape and Islands, to do what I would call an in-depth project, 3 to 5 years. I hope I last that long, to really get into what is going on with our young people. I think even before COVID, we were seeing a different young person than we'd seen before. And I think an awful lot of that was due to the effects of social media. Then we took the kids essentially and put them in isolation for almost 2 years, where they were only on screen. They were taken away from friends and relatives and everyone else at a time of social emotional development. And then when the world opened up again, from all reports, we're seeing problems everywhere. We're seeing a lot more suicide ideation. I read a statistic where 60% of teenage girls have a hopeless feeling. We're seeing spikes in vaping, in drug misuse, and we're seeing kids that don't know how to communicate other than by social media with abbreviations, not even full English words. I, as a former English teacher, regret. So there are an awful lot of problems, right from the little, almost nursery school age, right up through to the emerging adults, which go really up to, I think, about 28. And this project is from 0 to 25. And during the development of this project, part of it actually took place on Nantucket because I was involved in this committee effort with a lot of consultants over a period of about 4 years to look at mental health on the island. And the result of that was forming a new not-for-profit. Jericho was a part of all of this committee too. And for community solutions on Nantucket to mental health. It's, what is it? Community Solutions BH, CSBH. And we have the executive director now, whom I spent the day with yesterday over here. She came over to meet me, and I do serve on that board. But in that process, we at different points talked an awful lot about youth and how we could address the problems of youth on an island. And the Cape isn't all that much different than Nantucket in a lot of ways, especially the lower Cape, where you have isolation, you have limited resources, you have limited entertainment type things, and so on. So one of the things we did in that first committee, I came up with a list of touch points because we always talk about school whenever we talk about kids. Oh, you've got to get to the schools. Yeah, the schools are extremely important with kids. However, schools are open, as I remember, 180 days a year, and for about 6 hours a day. Well, there are 365 days in a year, and there are 24 hours in a day. So there's an awful lot of touch points or things that happen to kids other than the school situation. So we had started with a list of touch points and said, all right, if we were to really educate a community, a whole community, on what's going on and what mental health is and what mental health issues are, especially for youth, who would we talk to? Well, you really, when you look at it, it would take everybody, all the different people in the community, even the businesses, because let's face it, the business hire young people and they see young people struggling. They have to fire young people because they break rules, all of those kinds of things. So over the past year at NAMI here, in addition to all the work that was going on in Nantucket, we made a decision in our strategic plan to make a really concerted program
it was right there, Evan.
to the root causes of the mental
That's where it
health
was.
issues that's happening to our young people, to try to get out in front. We've been putting a lot of Band-Aids on things because, you know, we've been rushing to get therapists. We've been rushing to do this. We've been rushing to do that. But this whole program is an idea to try to get ahead of it, to try to actually change the paradigm of a community, to understand what mental health and social emotional health is, how kids are relating in this day and age, not the way we did, and try to address it so we're not in the position where we're totally rushing around looking for therapists and using Band-Aids and saying, oh my God, what are we going to do type thing. So this grant, which is a one-time grant, which I think makes it unique in itself, I thought was a great opportunity to try to buy into, to make sure that Nantucket got the exact same treatment and the exact same programming that we're doing on the Cape. Now this is starting, and we've already started. We introduced it on the Cape, I think it was the 13th of August, in a community forum where we had an awful lot of the important players, including like the district attorney's office, Department of Mental Health, and a lot of police departments, a lot of school departments, Bay Cove, who's our emergency service on the Cape. All of these people were represented and were introduced to the program and asked if they would be supportive, if they could be listed as supporters. And the enthusiasm was really there. So we started, and we'll be having more of those meetings. But we've already started with, there's two parts to this program. I say it's a two-pronged project. One is the community education, which is for the education of adults and how to deal with youth and all the issues that are happening, whether you're a teacher, whether you're a social worker, whether you're a parent, a grandparent, whatever. The other piece is geared for the kids themselves. And we're naming that Be Kind to Your Mind. That actual name, Be Kind to Your Mind, came from a Barnstable High School intern that we had here last year when we asked her how you would communicate with high school kids other than social media, because and we do have to communicate to kids with social media, but on the other hand, I keep saying using social media is your only way to get to kids is sort of like throwing a big beer blast to raise money for AA. I mean, you're using one of the things that is really part of the problem to so on. So anyway, she said we do posters at school. And I said, well, great, go in the conference room. She had a big set of crayons with her. And I said, go draw me a poster of what mental health means to you. So she came back a little while later, and she had drawn a picture of the brain. And she had on top of it, Be Kind to Your Mind. And I thought that said it all in a way. Be kind to your mind. So the kids portion of this is Be Kind to Your Mind. And I'm especially excited about the kids portion because there's a lot of programming out there geared toward children, kids, helping themselves too. But there's programs for younger kids that would be involved in this. But we want to have a lot of focus groups, and we've already started actually with a group of Brazilian kids on the Cape, to ask kids how they feel, but what they need. And then we're going to say, okay, you're telling me this is what you need. Show us how to do it. In other words, design some of these programs yourself. Work with us so you become part of the solution, not the problem. And also with communications. How would you get to know somebody other than the internet or other than social media? What are some of the activities that would appeal to you? So, I mean, I kind of envision kids learning to message and market through maybe writing a song, maybe writing a play that they can perform, drawings, photography, all of those types of things, to do their own messaging and talk to each other and to work together in person, in groups, actually doing something to try to build self-confidence and self-esteem and group relationships, because those seem to be missing so much. Now, as that's the kids part of it. And there's a lot of programs out there. We have started running a lot of the programs by some of the kids and asking them, which ones appeal to you? What resonates with you? Would this work in your school? Would this work in your group of friends? And how would you change it? So on. But for the community itself, and that's called, that part of it's called Think Youth. It's our future. And it is. I mean, these people are going to take over the world sometime. And the world's pretty messed up as it is, and they know it, but they're going to have to be very strong and resilient to try to survive and to deal with some of the big problems that are here. So we as adults really need to understand and really explore what social, emotional, and mental health and brain development is in kids, probably to a greater degree than we've ever dealt into it before. And so this is a whole community education project. So what we did, because we felt that we were told this should be a collaborative effort, and I agree 100%. What I did, we have ASAP, who of course has always dealt with communication and education about substance misuse. That's one of the big issues. We have Chris, who has just formed a not-for-profit to address the misuse of social media, which is absolutely huge. And then we have Kim, who has founded Sharing Kindness, which is not only education about suicide and suicide prevention, but it's also about grief. And she has grief support groups, and including grief support groups for young people. And one of the statistics that she told me not long ago was that there's a huge number of kids that have had a grief experience in their early lives. They've lost a parent, or they've lost a sibling or a friend, usually to overdose. So there's a whole way to work kids through their grief. So then NAMI, of course, deals in all mental health and stress and anxiety. So our feeling was that those are 4 of the huge issues that are confronting youth at this time: the mental health issues, the drug issues, the social media issues, and the suicide ideation and grief issues. So that's how we covered it. And that's kind of the cornerstone of what we're doing here. As I said, it's, this grant is a one-time opportunity, and I felt that it meshed totally with what NAMI has projected is going to be from our strategic plan is going to be our priority for the next 3 to 5 years. And so I thought this was a great opportunity to launch it on Nantucket. So that's kind of where we're at.
Thank you. Kim, would you like to add to?
I would be happy to add that we partnered with NAMI in the past for programs on CAPE for youth. We were excited to be asked. We currently have a peer grief group on the island for suicide loss survivors. That's for adults. So we have not, we're not working with youth. I should say we actually have an upcoming QPR training with the adults at our house, and then we're going to follow that with the youth, the students that attend or participated at our house. So we want to support our neighbors in Nantucket of all ages, and we were excited to be asked. We have a number of different programs, as Jackie said, that can be both school-based and community-based, and so it would depend on what the needs and the requests were from folks in the community there. Thank you.
I'll also add that I've been working with Kim on a couple of elements of a panel that we held over the weekend, and we have plans to collaborate in the future to bring more QPR lessons and more education to the island.
Good.
Thanks, Jericho. It was a great panel. It was really super to be able to work with folks from the town and folks from Fairwinds. And yeah, I agree. Thank you.
Who would like to go first and add your components or anything addition?
Well, I could just talk a little bit about social media. I know it was an emphasis of the RFP, and we are young. We are 8 months old. We were founded in response to the clarion call at the Nantucket Project last year, starting with the Surgeon General, who talked about the need for parents to collaborate and get empowered, because it's so hard to go it alone to push back against the socialization needs of these kids who need to be on who need to be on social media. So we've just finished 4 focus groups here on island. We had 2 with parents, 2 with kids, 1 at the Boys and Girls Club, 1 in the middle school, trying to discern what the needs are, particularly here as we build a website. So I feel like we've got a really great baseline of what it means to live on this island as a teenager and use social media, and parents are frightened and struggling for information. They either see what's coming ahead for their 10 or 14-year-old, or their 16-year-old is just really stuck and they have nowhere to go. So I think hopefully our role here in informing and providing tips to parents on how to tackle either pre or before, all for healthy social media use, would be a good contributor to the town's goals of the grant. I'm speaking to the Bulgarian school on Saturday. There's just the Lighthouse School in April. There's a real thirst on the island, which I think is terrific. And, you know, congratulations to you all for responding to that need.
Okay, thank you. The name of your group again
It's
is,
called Families Against Social Media
Okay.
Addiction.
thank you.
Yeah, I could just add that I really like the comprehensiveness of this whole proposal. And that I think the Alliance for Substance Abuse Prevention organization is really, boys, we've been working with NAMI over the years anyway, as partners. And we also have been doing outreach education for adults in the community as well as students and children in the schools. We're already working with the schools. We've got a foot in the door with that effort, which is really big and will be helpful. So it really ties in nicely with, we have a strong program director right now who can help take on a piece of this with the other gal who's working on behalf of NAMI in the community. So yeah, I feel it's a really a good effort, and hopefully, and you know, change does not happen overnight, but this piece about changing the paradigm is really what's as important here, because Nantucket historically doesn't want to change. It's very hard to make people shift from their habits. So I think that whole piece of this effort and the fact that we want it to last over several years and hopefully get some traction is a big part of this effort. Thank you. Will hopefully stick.
Thank you. Joanna, do you have any questions?
Or, I mean, it sounds very interesting. How many people came this past weekend to the event that you had at the, I think it was at the Dreamland?
It was about 46, I think.
Okay.
That's
pretty
the
cool.
same number. That's what we had, Jericho. Somebody
Yeah.
in our organization counted.
And then we had about 25% of the people who came submitted questions suggesting like a pretty high level of engagement with the subject material.
Okay. And then I know Holly just said that they have a program director. Who is the program director?
Elise Norton.
Oh, okay. And then what is happening in the schools? Because we've been unable to really engage the schools in this process.
Well, we started last year in conjunction with Sherry, who's the social services director, I believe, at the high school, a program for students called SAVE, which is substance, alcohol, vaping. I don't know what the E is.
Education?
Education, thank you. And so they identify students who might need help in this area, and we have a group of students who regularly attend, and it's during the advisory block, and they come and they learn about substance misuse, and they have healthy conversations with our program director as well as a certified counselor. So
Okay.
that's ongoing. We also have a program in the Boys and Girls Club that we started several years ago that we couldn't continue during COVID, but we started again at the end of last year. And that's just a let's talk. So we have pizza and chatting about whatever group of students comes over to what their interests are and what they want to feel like talking about. We just had a family open skate because it's the beginning of Red Ribbon Week. So to kick that off, we had free skate. We had about, I think it was 80 or 90 people there. It was for all ages, and that was, Sunday from 2 to 4. And we had last, spring, we had a presentation on vaping, and that presenter presented to students in the 5th grade, and then also 6th through, I think it was 10th, and parents as well. So we're starting up again, thankfully.
Okay. And in this program that you guys are talking about today, I'm looking at your budget, what is your projection of the number of people that you can impact?
Can I interrupt here for a second? For those who cannot see you, like myself, who's on the highway in 95, can you please identify who's speaking? Because I don't know, I know some voices, but not the others.
Thank you, Linda. Good.
Okay, this is Jackie. Now the question was how many people we would impact. Well, ideally, with a variety of the programming and what we're talking about, because we're talking about things like mental health first aid for youth, which is for the community. We're talking about the programs that I have in mind that I've been exploring and pricing. Stuart Ablum, Think Kids for Parents. They have a program for parents. Then all the other programs, when we start talking about, Chris is, we're talking about at least a weekend that would be free of social media. We have the, with all of these different prongs, the whole idea is to reach as many people in the community as we can. We also have written in the budget and put in our plans how to reach the Spanish, especially the Spanish community on the island, which is very difficult. I've been working on that for a while with a couple of small grants from the foundation. We have been translating mental health materials into Spanish. We have been working with a person from the Catholic Church who seemed, because we found when we did our Brazilian programming on the Cape, the in was through the churches, essentially. That was one of the best ins for that population. So we know that's going to be a hard sell. That's one, though, that is extremely important because those are some of the people that are probably at the highest risk, the kids, some of those kids. From a cultural point of view, from an economic point of view, and just.
But are we talking about 100
maybe,
kids, 50 kids? Like what are you thinking?
Oh, we're talking about hopefully far more than 100 kids. I mean, I'm talking about, and it's not all going to happen at once.
Right.
It can't. But no, I mean, we're trying to think of every stone that can be overturned, and because to me, it's a big deal. It's kind of my last hurrah, quite frankly. It's like, if I can make the Cape and Islands a better place for kids to be raised and understand their social emotional development. But you can't do that unless you reach out to almost all segments of the population, Joanna.
Right. And in terms of hiring new people to accomplish this, what is there money in this request
Yes.
for? Yeah, tell me about that.
Okay, well, there is, we at NAMI, and of course, a lot of this is going to overlap with what's going on over here. We in the office have hired a new part-timer just to be the point person for this whole project. And she is experienced. She is actually a parent advocate all over, and she has done some work in the Nantucket school. She knows all the people in the school. She knows the directors of student services. She knows the guidance counselors. She knows all of that. And we have put her on the payroll for 20 hours a week just to really honcho this program. And then we're very pleased that we do have 2 people, because Elise Norton, of course, is running the substance misuse programming, but that's also NAMI now, and she is on our payroll, as is Suzanne Franzuto, who is a native of Nantucket and lives on Nantucket and is very plugged into the community. And then I'm very pleased, of course, Holly is very, very involved, and she's been involved in social emotional things on Nantucket for years and knows the community. And then Chris resides on Nantucket part of the year and is a very competent person to administrate and organize. So I feel confident that we have the bandwidth to bring this to Nantucket.
And so in terms of this position that you're hiring for, the 20 hours, like you're hiring this regardless of us giving you the grant.
This part would probably come out of NAMI's budget. We have, well, there's a financial issue here that's changed since I wrote the grant, because we have had very good support on Nantucket and our programming on Nantucket. And I've been in front of this committee before, as you know, and we do run a program that is the Independent Therapist Compensation Program, which costs about $150,000 a year. And you usually grant us in the neighborhood of 100. And we have been able to pick up the extra and continue it a whole year because we've had this extra money. I'm going to be hustling for money on Nantucket because there's been kind of a big change. Dragonfly, which was a wonderful fundraiser founded by Kate Kling, was founded for us. And then it was shared with Fairwinds. Well, she announced that she's going to give all the money to Fairwinds next year. So that puts me down $150,000 of extra money on Nantucket to complete these programs. And so I'm writing grants like crazy, and I'm looking for money on Nantucket to augment, because if you look at the budget, I'm saying, and I took this for 15 months because because really this grant is the last 3 quarters of the 24 year now, because we're actually in the second quarter. And then, but our budget at NAMI goes calendar. So that's why I said this is a 15-month budget, and I was planning on spending about $260,000 on Nantucket, and then hopefully a big portion of it would be from this grant. So I have to kind of hustle for the rest of that money. So it's even more important to us right now to be able to do this. But I do have some ideas, and I don't lie down easily. I fight for it. I really do. And I believe in this so much. And I do believe that Nantucket deserves it. And I have feelings about Nantucket. We used to vacation here, and I know people that were brought up here, and there's old school ties from Nantucket. There are all kinds of things from Nantucket. So I'm not a total stranger to the island by any means. And I do feel very strongly about it. But the other thing that what we do, because quite frankly, about 25% of my time, because I do figure out how I spend my time as executive director, with all the meetings and all the work we've done to try to get all these initiatives going on the island, I've spent just about 25% of my work time working on Nantucket projects. And I have several people that I consult with for help. I have my people that call here from Nantucket that have to take people off island, all of those things. So a lot of that payroll, although, it's all one payroll, but that a lot of that payroll is spent on Nantucket. So even though I'm hiring somebody, I'm saying, all right, part of it's for Nantucket too. So it's hard to make that clear delineation, Joanna.
Well, I think the other thing is, since this is a fairly large amount of money, and the budget, the line item budget that you're submitting is really, I think just for this program, it's hard to see the relationship to your overall budget. And where these things kind of have interface, because it sounds like what you're describing means that they are having interface.
Yes,
especially if you,
they do have interface. In fact, as I said, a lot of the things that I worked on Nantucket, especially with the group that Jericho and I were in, actually helped us formulate this plan. On the other hand, I just applied for a grant from a private foundation over here to get the money to do mental health first aid for youth training. And and I plan on having 4 people trained on Nantucket as part of that grant. And then we have another program we're developing, and the ask is from the Cape Cod Foundation. And I was really excited about this because they have a new grant that's for women and girls, just for women and girls. And so we've designed a program that they seem to be really excited about. And I hope we get the funding to develop a program that it's a 8-part program taken outside of school with a clinician. We have the ability for bilingual and to take kids that are underserved, that have a lot of potential, girls, and do self-esteem building exercises, community working exercises, and mentoring, and also a little bit of mentoring toward how college and all of those things. These are kids that wouldn't necessarily be able to get that through their parents and might get overlooked at school with busy counselors. So the prototype for that is actually coming out of other money, but that program then would be, if it's successful, and we would use it on Nantucket. So, you know, there's a lot of overlapping here.
Okay,
Of course,
thank you.
doing anything on Nantucket's more expensive because you do have to bring people over and you have to put them up overnight and things like that too.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Jackie. And thank you, Joanna. Just because we're running into other time at this point, do we have any other questions? Because I think that what we've heard has really answered most of my questions. Any others? And I just have one question if no one else has. If we cannot fund 100% of your program, can you conduct, can you continue with the program and what you're talking about?
It would be very difficult to do what I'm talking about because I lost that $150,000. That would be very hard. As I said, I do have a couple of ways I hope I can make it up. I'm not giving up, but that's a blow. It's a big financial blow to us. And as I said, I am committed to figure out how to do this on the island. And a long time ago, I think it was 5 or 6 years ago, when I spoke, I said, our goal is to put on Nantucket everything that we do on the Cape. Nantucket should be equal. And I'm still very committed to that. But I would say that I'd have to really look at what we're doing if I don't get a generous amount of this, especially because I lost the 150. When I wrote this budget and said, yes, we can spend 260,000 on Nantucket, I was counting on that 150. And I also have to make up, if I'm going to continue the program for the independent clinicians, I might have to cut that off when the town funding runs out, where before I've always continued it on our own money. So it's a tough one, but I'm doing my best, believe me.
Well, thank you. Thank you for your honesty with that. Appreciate that. Any other questions? Otherwise, I really do thank everyone. Yes.
Could I just, Jackie, on behalf of the team, could I just offer that such a rich, diverse, as Jackie said, multi-pronged program. Certainly, if there, and I don't know what your procedure is, but if there are particular prongs, if you will, that you like, please come back to us because
certainly.
And then we do have another grant process that will be taking place in a few weeks to months, which will be for the next fiscal year. That is for the general human service funding. So there is additional funding available, but that won't be made available until the next fiscal year.
Right.
My point is, perhaps don't throw out the baby with the bathwater.
Hear you very loud and clear. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
But thank you for your time today. Appreciate and
Thanks for your
your
generosity.
thank you. Thank you. All right. Boys and Girls Club?
Yeah.
Thank you. Would you like to come up to front? All right. Okay. And thank you.
And then, Linda, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. I can hear you. I cannot hear some people, but again, I'm asking you to identify yourselves before you speak. I know Joanne's voice and Victoria's voice.
Okay. All righty.
So who's next? I know whose that is.
Next is Boys and Girls Club. Can you
Okay.
please introduce yourself?
Yes,
Thank you.
I look at the owl, right?
Yes.
Hi, my name's Jasmine Lee. I'm the Director of Marketing and Events from the Nantucket Boys and Girls Club and did the grant writing for this
you.
particular grant.
All right, would you like to give us a overview?
Yes, so I've worked primarily in events. So I'm from the Nantucket Boys and Girls Club. So the primary events are Summer Groove and a golf tournament at St. Kitty. And those are very successful and they're very fun to plan, but we are working toward, our operating budget's 3 million. Those two events in our annual fund raise 3 million. And we are thinking, we're forward thinking, what would happen if it rained, if it poured, if we had another worldwide pandemic. And so we're really focused on diversifying sources of revenue and also partnering with local organizations like the town of Nantucket, but also maybe looking more broadly into state and federal funding. So there's not as much pressure on fundraising events, and also to give our programs a little bit more street cred, if you will. I feel like the Boys and Girls Club, I've been there for 5 years now, and I feel like the perception of the club is primarily after school care, which we are. Second, sports. We're very good at those things. We also, as you can see in the grant, we do 25 to 30 programs every year for the kids, and we are working on educating stakeholders about those programs that we do, and also making sure that they're successful. And so that's one reason why this grant was actually recommended to us by one of our trustees. And it was mentioned in the grant that we recently partnered with Boston College, one of the Bostons. I was actually on that project, so I should know which. I think it was Boston College, a group of MBA candidates, and we focused on interviewing the parents and guardians of the kids about what they wanted to see from the club. And a big thing that they wanted was focus on programs that promote educational, health, wellness, social, physical health and wellness, and also focus on digital health as well, because that's just so prevalent these days. And as we know, like I grew up with that, but I also am not nearly as tech savvy as these 5 to 18-year-old kids. And so sometimes it's a little bit scary to have to teach kids how to use that kind of stuff when we ourselves don't know it. So that is kind of why we applied for this grant.
All righty. Can we start with questions then? Linda, since you're on the telephone, this is Veronica, by the way. Linda, do you have any questions for Boys and Girls Club?
I've had 8 kids go through there and I coach there, and all my kids played sports there. So I'm always been a big supporter of the Boys and Girls Club. And I used to work the event, but I haven't the last 2 years. They haven't needed us.
We'll gladly take you,
yeah.
Veronica. Just
That's Linda.
oh, Linda,
Okay,
Linda.
They kicked us all to the curb last year, and some of us refused to come back, but that's another subject. But I
Okay.
love the Boys and Girls Club. I love the programs, the after the homework club. I mean, my kids went all the way until 8th grade, and they were aged out of there. This is a targeted grant, but I'm not sure it's targeted enough to a particular program for my comfort. Can you specify that? I don't have the information in front of me because I'm still driving down now 287 in New York.
Yeah.
But
Yeah,
can you specify that?
Yep, and that's what I struggled with when writing this grant was, do I target it to 1 or 2 programs that we're doing, or I printed out a little cheat sheet because I just looked at the 25 to 30 programs that were happening this year at the club, and I picked the 10 that fit the grant. And the main reason that I applied for this grant was, I'm going to skip ahead a little bit to the next question. Our operating budget is 3 million, 143,000 is programming, which seems very, very small. And that includes athletics and programming. And if you're asking where the rest of the money goes, it honestly, we're a service-based industry, so it goes to the people, it goes to keeping the lights on. We have 19 staff and employee housing, it goes to the maintenance of those buildings so that we can have stellar staff that serve the kids. Our programming budget is so small, and I want to spread the wealth among these 10 programs that fit into the grant. And it's not targeted, but they all have an aspect of health, wellness, digital media safety. What you said, that your kids aged out at 8th grade, speaks very like close to my heart, because I connect to all the kids, but when we lose, 300 to 400 kids that are 8th through 12th grade, it's tough because you watch them grow up. A lot of these programs, a vocational team program, Torch Club, that's a teen mentorship program as well. Those top 3 are geared towards 6th, 7th, 8th, and even high school. Right now, we have 300 team members, but they come to use the gym. And so I'm not sure if I answered your original question, but I didn't want to target this grant to just one of our programs. I wanted to target it to as many as possible, because a second reason why we're applying to this is because there are really no barriers that the club has in terms of access to the kids. We have 300 kids there right now. Going up, I have some 10th graders there right now that I know. So age-wise, kid-wise, we have them. What we don't have all the time is incentivizing the kids to do a program when they could be playing football on the field, when they could just be talking to their friends. Like, we're not the school. They don't have to participate in anything that they don't want to. Even if their parents sign them up, they can just vanish and not appear at the program. And so what this grant will be for is to providing the resources for our staff to say, hey, we have this extra room in the budget. Let's find ways to incentivize the kids to come. Also, let's get some extra help, as I think everyone on the island we're short-staffed. And also let's get them trained. Let's give them the resources to learn how to implement programs and teach them things that they might not know.
Jackie, can I ask, you keep talking about incentivizing.
I have one more question though. I have one more question, then I'll put on mute. So if we couldn't fund the entire ask, any amount is going to go to programs, direct services to the kids. Even if we couldn't give you the full amount, you'll take whatever you can get at this point to sort of augment what you haven't raised or don't have enough money for.
Yeah, and I think I'm cheating a little bit because I heard some of your last interview, but if we don't get this grant, of course, we will still implement all of the programs. It's just, I don't personally work in programming, but I see our staff work so hard to like pull the kids into a program to like get them to participate and be engaged and not be drawn to the computer lab or to the gym where it's like kickball. That like, I just want to give them as many resources as we can and to get the kids truly excited. And often when they start the program, they're like, yes, this is so fun, but it takes that little push to get them in the room and engaged, and then have some learning and some fun along the way.
Okay. All right.
Well, I think the art classes and the cooking classes and the diversification at the Boys and Girls Club has always been one of the biggest strong points of the club, because as you said, not every kid goes to the game room, not every kid goes out to play the football or t-ball or whatever is going on. You have other things for kids that are not sports inclined there, and I think that's one of the strong points of the Boys and Girls.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you. If I can just jump in with a question, if incentivizing the kids to participate in these programs, and then second part of that is, can you reach your not Boys and Girls Club current population?
Yes. So
Okay.
we have seen membership just skyrocket up through the years. We've never advertised becoming a member of the club, but we have very close relationships with Lighthouse School and New School, and we're becoming more, at least operationally speaking, we work pretty in tandem with the public school, and we're working on ways to work closer with the public school. Like, we have staff just go to the school and hand out flyers, like, and just say,
Mhm.
this program's happening, come to the club. But I think the primary way that we'll reach kids that are not members of the club is through the teen program. So teens don't have to be a member of the club. They can sign themselves up. They can come Friday and Saturday nights and just hang. And that's how TJ Grant he's our new teen coordinator. It's how he just pulls the kids in and gets them involved in his teen mentorship program and Torch Club, which is already a very successful program. And we also, our program director, Tara Corbett, is very, very involved just locally. So like, we were at the Whaling Museum this morning. She just puts her information out everywhere. Like, we have a very strong staff, and we have been doing a lot better about local collaborations and meeting people and going to other organizations' events. And that's why, like, the town is at the Nantucket Fire Department is at the club right now with a huge fire truck doing this program with the kids, and they're very, very excited. So those are the ways how we would get non-members, but honestly, I don't think it'll be a problem. I mean, our goal is to hit our members too and attract new members.
Okay.
Our membership is over 1,200 kids annually, so we forecast it out, it's just gonna keep moving up, so I don't think it will be too much of a problem.
Thank you. Sue, questions?
So some of the programs that you're talking about, are they all, two questions, are they all new or continuing, and are they local?
Counted, so 3 of them are new, and those are the ones focused on social media safety, and then the vocational team programs and team mentorship programs. Those are very new this year, and then the rest of them are continuations of past programs. So we're just working on ways to improve them and get more kids involved and to have better feedback at the end of the day.
Great. And then, secondly, are some of them homegrown or some
Yes.
passed down
Yeah, so
through
we have
national?
lots of them are locally developed, and then lots of them are, I would say, I wrote this down because 4 out of the 10 are from National Boys and Girls Club, and then the rest, the 6 are homegrown. And there's pros and cons to both, I would say. Like, with National, they really supply us with everything we need resource wise. Like, here's a booklet, here's a lesson plan, here's exactly what you need to buy, just now go do it. And then with the homegrown ones, I found that the staff really make it their own and are very enthusiastic and often like take it in directions that no one could have predicted. Like, one of the programs, Smart Girls, our lead staff, Daniele, I put 15 to 20 kids was the target, and I just asked her today, I was like, how many kids do you had so far? And she's like 53. So it's just, and they just made a huge mural for the wall that is like female empowerment, like things that you say in the mirror, which I thought was very cute. And then they also in front of them took a picture. So and that was a mix of a homegrown and a National Boys and Girls Club. So our staff really make it very personalized.
That's great. That's what you want to hear.
For our members up on the screen, John, any questions?
No?
Okay, all right. Joanna?
I'm good. I'm very familiar with the Boys and Girls Club. My kids have gone through there too. So I know that they do great work.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome, Jasmine.
Okay, so thank you, Jasmine.
Okay.
Appreciate your coming today
Thank
and
you.
filling us in on some of the extra information. Thank you.
They brought
All right.
a fire truck down?
Yeah, I,
They get the easiest one. We did we tried to explain vaccines to kids and they get to just shoot them with a fire.
that was just as I was watching here.
That's really,
Yeah.
thank you.
I was like, why is there no one?
Handing out
inside?
Band-Aids.
Yeah, we were all surrounded around a fire truck.
I'd be there too.
Yeah, I was worried something happened because it was too quiet in there.
Okay.
Thank you.
Elise, would you like to join us at the table? All right.
Thank you.
All right. Why don't you come up front over here because
Sounds great.
that way
part of the STEAM. that
This,
we're doing.
where, that's why we get to look at the screen
I'm
as you're
fine.
talking too.
Okay.
You guys are just gonna
Awesome.
bring at least.
Alliance for Substance Abuse Prevention. Thank you. Hi, Sue. Hi, Elise. Hi, Jericho.
Hello, how goes it?
Great, hi, Melanie.
Yeah, good. How are you?
Good.
So, would you like to give us an overview?
Okay, great.
Okay.
So, Alliance for Substance Abuse Prevention has, submitted for grant funding for a couple different programs. So one is a collaboration with Nantucket Disc Golf, where we would run, multiple sessions of, disc golf instruction for youth. And, each group would be, organized by age. So we'd start with, younger kids and then work our way up to, the high school students. Kind of in 3 different sessions. Each session, meeting for 4 to 6 weeks, the students would, get disc golf instruction, they would play disc golf, and then each session would culminate with, a family tournament. So a big family event where the kids would compete in a tournament and families would be invited to spectate and then enjoy, refreshments and like an award ceremony at the end. And so that's great because that gets the kids outside, gets them active, gets them exercising, teaches them a valuable life skill. They can walk away with the ability to play disc golf. And that's something that they can do easily in their free time, anytime. Lou would provide the kids with discs. So they will also leave the program with discs. That also gives them the ability to continue playing, after they're done with the program. So we like that too, because it kind of gives them something that they can keep with them. And then the other program that we are submitted for is in collaboration with an organization called MAST, which is newly opened last June of this year on Fairgrounds Road. And it is a wellness center, a center for well-being. They are looking to offer free to teens workshops in breath work, meditation, and somatic movement, which is basically like movement classes that really focus on your inner experience, not like dance, not how the movement looks, but how the movement feels. And these are all healing and wellness classes that will teach kids, again, a life skill that they can take with them, that they can use in sort of either their recovery process or their, staying away from substances or their mental health. It's good for their mental health, right? And so they can use these skills in their daily life. And again, we would provide them with various tools that they can take home with them, that they can use in their everyday to practice these skills that they've learned at MAST. And lastly, in partnership with MAST, we're looking to offer a recovery support group for teens. So this one would be specifically for teens that are in recovery that need licensed therapist guided recovery support group. So gives them a community, gives them a space, a safe space to come and talk with their peers and a licensed therapist, about their recovery process and to get support to work through their recovery process. And that would be most likely a 6-week program. So giving the kids enough time to really come and, get comfortable with the group. And hopefully that would be something we could continue to offer going forward. The MAST organization is very interested in getting, working with the teens in the community and looking to make connections that will bring teens into the center and sort of open the doors to the teens to be there to support them. So, you know, when I speaking with the director, she brought up, you know, before they opened, there were some incidents in the community that really affected the teens in the community. And in the future, she would really like to be able to be there for the kids in situations like that and have her space be a place where the kids feel comfortable and feel like the doors are open to them. You know, that's their space, you know, in addition to other places that are there for them on the island. But she really wants them to feel safe there and feel welcome and know and think of her space as a place where they could go. So she's looking for this partnership with Alliance for Substance Abuse Prevention to really foster that, establish that for her in this community. So.
All right. Questions, we'll start up on the screen. Joanna?
Thanks, Elise. I just have a question. So I don't get the relationship between disc golf and MAST. Can you walk me through that?
Sure. So there is no relationship between disc golf and MAST. That's why you can't make that connection. So they're two separate, they're just separate programs, So we are applying for grant funding for the disc golf program as well as for the MAST program.
Okay.
So it would be separate funding.
Okay.
Yeah.
But the total of it all is 35,000.
Correct.
Okay.
Correct. Yes.
Okay. So the two things that you would be doing at MAST is the expressive dance stuff with Ilya, and then the substance support group. Is that it?
Correct. So there are two programs at MAST. One is the healing modalities.
Yeah.
Which would be multiple classes. So there would be meditation classes, breath work classes, and the movement classes.
Yeah.
So there would be like 3 different workshops kids could sign up for there. And then in addition to that at MAST would be the recovery support group.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. And these funds cover the cost of the facilitators for those programs.
Yes. So it covers cost of space, facilitators, materials.
Okay.
And allows us to offer all of this programming free of cost to students.
Okay. And how many kids can you accommodate?
So at the MAST program, they figure about 16 kids per class is like their maximum. Now for the recovery group, I'm not sure if we could go larger than that, but that would be for the healing classes, the breathwork, meditation, and somatic movement would be like maximum 16 kids. Now for the disc golf, they could do, he said around 15 kids.
Okay.
So he could have, then when they play, they would break into groups of 5, I think he says.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, that's what I wanted to understand. Thank you.
Okay, John?
John, you're on mute.
Okay, you're on mute. Okay,
Sorry, John, still muted. Got you though.
okay, thank you.
No, I still don't have anything to add.
Okay. Thank you, John. Thank you.
Do you want
Sue?
Is Linda still there?
Yeah, I'm
Linda?
still here.
Okay, Linda?
I think Joanna asked all my questions.
Ready? Sue?
Okay, now me. There was something in here about the high school was gonna do like intro sessions. Have they consented fully to that?
No.
Okay.
So that, yes, they have not, but we do have, one of the instructors at MAST is a staff member at the high school. And so we feel confident that we have like a sort of a door in.
Yeah.
Plus I'm working with the high school currently on some other programming. So, but the idea would be to, meet with the health classes and just do like a 1-day you know, in the health class at school, and which is basically like their PE. And do like an intro to the programming. And so, yeah, so that would be kind of one way that we would get kids interested in the programming and get them to sign up.
Great.
Would be to go there and do these, you know, in-person sort of introduction to what it is. Because otherwise you don't, it's hard to know really, you know, when you're a
Sure.
teenager, or why would I want to sit and meditate?
Right. And do you have a referral source? I'm thinking that recovery group for teens.
Yeah, so the recovery group with teens is kind of born of this program that they're running on the Cape, which is they're running a more comprehensive program. It's basically a suspension diversion program.
Okay.
So it's like an alternative to suspension program that they run over there. And what they do is they run you know, an everyday program. But then after the kids graduate from this program, then they are then enrolled in this kind of recovery support group.
Okay.
So what our thinking was, we could kind of get a head start on the recovery support group, and then that way students could be referred to this program. Now, currently I'm teaching a program at the school right now, which is for students who have been suspended or disciplined for vaping, drinking, smoking marijuana on, you know, at school. And so and I do that, it's in school. So this would be kind of like, there's already like 12 students that I'm working with right there that could easily be referred to.
Great.
And might, you know, really benefit from this kind of a program outside of school. Like we do pretty well in school, but I think there's a barrier when you're in your school day and you're in your school building. But when you leave the school building and you have this amazing space that they've created at Mast, and they have this whole community room there, you know, where the kids can go and meet for this program, and there's no staff and no school setting, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Makes a difference.
Yes.
Okay. All right.
I would just like to add that peer groups, and specifically youth peer groups, were identified as a major gap in the local behavioral health system in the GAP study that was part of Nettica Behavioral Health Initiative.
Okay. I can have some clarification. 16 per class on the Mast, and 16 in recovery, and then 15 or so for the disco. In total, because is there more than one session?
Yeah, so that would be
Because it's-
16 each per, if with 3 different Mast programs, plus the recovery group. Right, and then the same with the disc golf, we would run 3 sessions. So it would be 15 per, so total of 45 kids,
Okay,
all said and done at the disc golf.
Absolute maximum number of people served would be 93, assuming each person attends.
Right. That was,
okay. So you're gonna be looking toward the health teacher and the staff of the school
Right.
to seek out children.
in part, yes, I think the school is gonna be a great referral source, cause they know. They see these kids every day, you know, they're developing close relationships with them, right, guidance department. You know, their PE health teachers, their advisory teachers. I think that, yeah, these people, you know, they see these kids all the time, so I think that's gonna be a very effective referral source. Yeah.
I guess, I'm not sure how to ask this. We've been talking about trying to reach the students that aren't in crisis, but the pre-crisis kids.
Right.
The ones who are silent, but in pain.
Mhm.
Do you think that there would be a reach to those students?
I think that, doing the intro programming with the health classes
Mhm.
allows you to get in front of like the majority of the students in the high school. So kids who are already identified, as well as kids who maybe need to self-identify,
Mhm.
right? It will give us the opportunity to sort of get an audience with them,
Mhm.
right? So that they can see the benefits of learning these skills, right?
Mhm.
And then maybe they can, because obviously referrals are great, right? Are very helpful when a teacher or somebody hands you the flyer and says that you know, this is a really great program, you should go check it out, or does a warm handoff for you. But self-referral is also, you know, we're not eliminating the option for kids or parents
Mhm.
to you know, get online and enroll them,
Mhm.
right?
Right.
So,
Okay. Ready?
I have a
Yes.
follow-up. So it's Sue again. Is there an avenue for people who English isn't their first language to get involved? Which I know is a hard.
not at this time.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I'm just looking, this is Veronica, Linda, if you're aware. I'm looking at some of the questions we had come up ahead of time and talked about with MAST of measuring pre and post tests. Who's developing those pre and post tests?
The organizations collaboratively, so Alliance for
Mhm.
Substance Abuse Prevention and MAST would come up with like a pre-assessment,
Mhm.
not a test so much as an assessment, you know, so questionnaire, kind of where are you at now? And then the post-assessment,
Okay.
you know, to, see where
So like
how they've grown and developed through the
Mhm.
programming, yeah.
Okay.
So a qualitative 1 to 5 assessment type thing, or?
Yeah, exactly, yeah.
Okay. All right. Very good. Any other questions? Okay,
Did we use Joanna now?
all right. Did we? Maybe. All right, well.
You did have on here,
I'm here and I'm good. I'm here and I'm good.
you did ask on here, does the program include evidence-based interventions?
Mhm.
And I did want to say that, yes, we do have plans in place for volunteer training. So the MAST staff is all professional and clinical staff. So, but for the disc golf programming, we do have plans in place for volunteer training for the disc golf instructors, so that they it's really important to us that the programming go one step beyond just being disc golf instruction.
Okay.
That this be a place where, as kids develop a relationship with the instructors, and as the instructors maybe see things and can identify behaviors, have referral resources for students. So if these kids who are participating need referrals to other local resources, they can offer them that, or mental health support, or, you know, recovery coaching or whatever it may be. So yes, so we are planning to, you know, work with the volunteers to make sure they are fully prepared.
Okay.
Yeah, to be able to talk to teens and support them as needed.
And just as a plug, when you get to that stage, I'm trying to line up a bunch of free to public individual QPR style
Yeah.
training. So when you get to that stage,
Great.
let me know and I'll try and get that sorted out.
Amazing. Yeah, awesome.
Good.
Okay.
All right. Well, thank you.
You're
All right.
welcome.
Thank you, Elise.
Thank you.
You're
All
welcome.
right.
Yeah. Thank you, guys.
Appreciate your time today.
Yeah,
Good.
absolutely.
All righty.
Yeah, of course. Thank you guys
Okay.
for your time. This is like, I can't imagine.
So we have somehow managed to get to about 4 minutes ahead of
Oh,
schedule.
okay.
And we are waiting on Fairlands to arrive, which should.
No,
Oh, sorry,
Dreamland, and they're supposed to be here in person.
So we should be here any moment, I'm assuming.
Okay,
I'm gonna suggest like a 3 to 4 minute break. Is that
Okay.
with everyone?
all righty.
What is it? What is the next one coming up?
Dreamland. And they're supposed to be
Okay,
here
I
in
know that
person.
one.
Yeah,
Okay.
supposed to be here.
Is that the last one today?
Yes, it
Yes.
is. Yes, it is.
It
Okay.
is the last
I'm
one.
almost
you
at my destination.
Okay, I was wondering where you are at this point.
Well, this point I am at stop and go traffic at rush hour on the Garden State. Yay.
Oh,
Good
gosh.
times.
Oh my. Well, be
I grew up
careful.
in it, it makes Surfside Road at 3 o'clock in the afternoon look like a piece of cake.
Piece of cake. Yes, definitely a piece of cake. Oh my.
All right, we're taking a break
Yes, just a few
for a minute.
seconds.
Will they show up?
We have
Okay,
We have no
cool.
one here yet, so we'll let you know when the door opens here.
So who is here? I know Sue's here, you're here, Joanna's here, John's here. Who else is here?
That's it. That's it. So that's why I appreciate you calling in today. Dorothy is in transit and wasn't sure if she'd be able to jump on or not. So we appreciate you participating, and I just see our folks starting to come to the door. So
Well, last year, to give you an idea, last year I was sitting in the Kohl's department in Wayne, New Jersey parking lot. My brother and my son cut a swath through Kohl's department store, and I was on the CONCOM meeting. So yes, I've been in very strange places on the phone.
oh my.
All right, you can have a
Well,
seat up at the table.
dedication, we appreciate it for sure. And it's wonderful that we can do these by Zoom and call in and whatever to have that flexibility. So thank you. All right.
Who was the first group? I didn't get the introduction on the first group. That was very long, but very interesting.
That was NAMI. NAMI.
Oh,
NAMI.
just NAMI. Okay.
Yeah, but,
'Cause there was a big involvement from the Cape part of it.
right, they brought in some of their partners with them. So we had 4 people.
Families Against Social Media
Media.
Addiction, ASAP had a representative, and there was one other agency.
Oh, Chris,
Oh, yeah,
um,
sorry, Sharing Kindness.
Sharing
Amy
Kindness.
Walters.
yes.
Because that was a
Yes.
very interesting, it was very long, but it was a very interesting presentation because I've been trained on both sides of the NAMI, both family and non-family sides.
Right.
And if this is, we've got, what we don't have is enough money for these great youth programs. And I think that I'd rather go after that funding, frankly.
Yeah, yeah. Okay,
We waiting on one?
wait 1 second. All righty.
Yeah, they're doing some they did, they're doing QPR for me along with a couple other contractors. And then even back like almost 2 years ago now, when we were trying to launch the youth program through the Ethics Behavioral Health, initiative, they were like considered for the school part of the program.
Sharing Kindness.
Have a seat.
I think it's Think Kids, I
Alright.
believe, is the name of the program. And that's one of the ones we were identifying as being kind of a community building and
Yes.
first response.
Okay, welcome. I am Veronica. We have Sue. On the phone calling in, we have Linda, and up on the screen, we have Joanna and John from our committee. And Dreamland has just arrived, so we will.
Hello.
Yes.
I was gonna say, and counterintuitively, if you wanna look at them, this is how they see your face.
Right, so that's why we have it, so we're looking there, but you actually look here if you want to see your face up there approach to the side.
Yeah, that would
Okay.
make sense. wouldn't it?
All right. Oh, sure, whatever works best for you.
Okay.
gonna throw me
off otherwise.
I know.
Okay.
It is a little,
It's counterintuitive.
we all
here.
suffer with that.
All right,
I can't help.
and we will turn.
little owl camera.
Yeah.
I forgot now.
And if you can introduce yourselves, and we're gonna turn it over to you, and then you'll have questions from us.
Oh, great, okay.
So good afternoon, everybody, and thank you very much for taking the time to meet with our team. My name is Alicia Carney. I'm the Executive Director of the Dreamland. I will allow my team to introduce themselves. We're honored to be here today to tell you a little bit about the program that we are submitting our grant funding for.
Great. I am Laura Gallagher Byrne. I'm the Director of Theater and Education at the Dreamland, and very honored to be here and to share what I think is a very important initiative for our young people on this island.
I am Michelle Feldman. I am the Donor Relations Manager. I'll just, again, what they said, I
feel very strongly that this is a program that can really benefit the youth on the island. Just from like my own children, being a mother and that perspective.
Okay.
Great. So would you like us
Yes,
to
please.
present a little bit of that? Sure. So I'm also on the school board here on Nantucket, and you are probably aware, or maybe not, that there was a dramatic increase in vandalism, social and emotional issues, which of course we know, we've been hearing about this. And addressing the social and emotional health of our young people has been a huge component of what we are all trying to do as educators. And the destructive behaviors have been stymieing everyone. All the principals have said, you know, we've tried this, we've tried that, we've talked about vape detectors, all of these different things that are punitive in the way that they try and address these behaviors. So we know that the social and emotional abilities of students and these benchmarks are not being met, and it starts very early. I see it in my own student population, in that the way that they were able to interact is different now. Small cueing, they are unable to grasp. It's fascinating to watch. It's upsetting to watch as well. However, because I have the background I taught at the public schools, I have a master's in education, MFA in applied theater. So it's something that I've studied and that I am keenly aware of and have wanted to address for some time. So when the issues about vandalism, and then there was a whole contingent of parents who wanted us to address the vaping, and they wanted us to put in vape detectors, et cetera, again, punitive. And I thought we need to address this at the very, very bottom level, where we are meeting the needs of kids in a way that they are able to learn the skills of interaction and empathy. No one learns, in my opinion, of a talking head telling them, well, you know, this is how we address empathy with worksheets, et cetera. So every time I would listen to educators talk about this, I thought, we're theater people. We are the masters of empathy. We are. And I thought so much about so many young people that I am honored to work with that have their lives have changed because of being involved in theater. And yes, there is a group of people that want to do theater, that is, you know, what they are so involved in. But there's a whole other group of young people that have never been exposed to this. And that is what got me thinking about how we could address this in a really powerful way. So I wanted to involve young people, not just that, you know, sort of cohort of theater kids that we see all the time, but to get into the schools and to get them involved. And when you look statistically, how people have been able to change, you know, we talk about restorative justice, which works, but not at a high level. So it works with the kid that, you know, maybe stole something from another kid, maybe got into a little bit of a scuffle, but the studies have shown restorative justice does not work with high-risk populations. It doesn't. It has not been as effective. But what has worked is giving kids three things: something to care about, something meaningful to do, and something powerful to believe in. And that's theater. And that is what we are able to give back through theater. You're giving them a population that they're working with. You're giving them meaningful work, and you're giving them something powerful to believe in. And that is what affects change. So there's several different arms of this. It's a big initiative, which is what, you know, why we're here. So the very first step is to have the Dream Team Youth Project, which is where we involve students to do theater for young audiences. And they would be a teen group, and they might be the theater kids, for lack of a better term, but they would be presenting theater for young audiences, which is anywhere from usually preschool up to second or third grade. So they would engage kids through a well-chosen production that is not preachy, but through it, they learn, how to interact. They see the actors on stage, and then the actors would then go into the classroom and interact and have a talk back with the kids, talking about what they saw on stage. And we know the earlier a child is exposed to theater, the greater their sense of empathy and hope. Why would we not want to do that at the very early stages? And I am so passionate about this, and I know you can tell because I have seen how this has affected our young people. Then the other piece of it would be, and this is a little harder to achieve, and I'm not even certain that it would just be our population, but it would be engaging students at risk. That's why we would want to partner with Fair Winds or A Safe Place, or even, and Pauline Proch and I have talked about this sort of anecdotally, working with the population at our house, which is a little more high risk than the students that I certainly see, that we see at the Dreamland. And then involving those kids in what we would call an applied theater piece, where they are doing monologues about their own experience. It's a challenge, although when kids are engaged in that discourse, they have a tendency to speak more freely. And it's a verbatim theater model that has worked with at-risk children, and it has worked with a higher risk in a restorative justice setting. So that would be where they would be talking about their experiences. There would be talk back again. And that is a model that is, I think we would definitely be able to partner with someone on that. And it could be some of the same kids that are working with those students that are more at a high risk. But verbatim theater projects, when the Rodney King riots happened, students were engaged involved in that model because they needed a place to kind of unpack. I'm surprised we haven't had anything like that sort of nationally since then, that I'm aware of anyway. But they found that it was a healing process when they were able to describe their own feelings. So whether this is ever presented on stage or if it's in a very small cohort, it is using the tools of theater to enable kids to be able to talk about their experiences and their feelings. And we see so much of an inability to do that in other settings. And then the other arm of this would be bringing in speakers and then having someone interview them, likely me, and having also someone that is recognizable. So we have our Dreamland conversations, but this would be very much geared toward the younger population. And so those are the three arms that we are working on now. I am very fortunate in that because I already have relationships with the schools, I already have relationships with a lot of the students who are older from when I taught. And also our relationships, our population grows with every single show that we do. And not only do we involve students on our stage, we involve students backstage. And we have young people that are 17, 18, 19 wanting to come back and being of service. And that is, again, that's something meaningful to do. So it's those sorts of experiences that we hope to offer. And again, it is that three-pronged, something to care about, something meaningful to do, something powerful to believe in. Okay, so questions?
I would just want to add to what Laura has shared. This really was born out of the ability to give parents and families resources in our community that may not otherwise engage in theater or understand how theater shows up for our young people. So I especially love the speaker arm of this, if you will, because we have the model and we have Dreamland Conversations. And for some of you who attended Casey Neistat's conversation, who's a YouTuber this summer, he has a reach in a demographic. We had 12, 13-year-olds to 50-year-olds bringing their children, and he has the fame, he has the reputation, but he also spoke about substance abuse and how his work through short filmmaking really kind of lifted him out of his socioeconomic conditions. And I think that that's really helpful for parents and families to hear as they're struggling with how to reach their children with problems like bullying or vaping or major issues that we talk a lot about, but how do we actually level with our youth and reach them through the power of storytelling. And that's what we're doing on our stages in all capacity. We have theater, we have film, we have conversations. It's all storytelling, but it's on the level that our students would be excited to engage with.
Joanna?
I thank you for that. That was really great. I'm really excited by the fact that through this grant process, we've actually gotten to hear from organizations that we don't usually talk to in our regular grant process. So thank you for applying. I 100% agree that it is better to engage students through something positive than something negative like vape detectors. Completely against that as a mom of high school students. No, I want you to do something good for them. And so I really like your program proposal. My question really is a couple parts, like how many kids do you think you can impact? And then what would you do if you didn't get all the grant money?
So how many kids that we would impact directly in the program would be 15 to 20, but their reach would be so much
Sure.
more, and it would affect the entire population across all 4 schools and also our private schools. And that's why I think it's so powerful. And when young people see their peers or people that they look up to in those higher level schools, they're immediately more engaged. Their interest is higher because it's a recognizable face. And I think we are also lucky and that we have stages and that we are able to present that. I'm sorry. Oh, that was strange.
She might be frozen.
You froze briefly there, Joanna.
You guys are froze too, so.
Okay, all right.
All right. Are we back here? Okay, I did hear. No, I'm still here. I did hear most of what you said.
You did or you
Okay.
did not?
Did.
You did. Okay. Great.
Okay, thank you.
And I would say it depends on which arm we're talking about, because there
True.
are also audience participants. So while there may be children engaged or our youth engaged in active workshops, there's also the Dreamland's capacity for our main theater, for example, which is over 300 seats. And depending on whether we broadcast this and we are able to film and put this on YouTube, that reach goes beyond that as well.
And I also love the idea of getting Casey to continue to do this stuff. I think that he is extremely visible and very inspirational. And I think his story is great. And he is, like a real Nantucketer now. So it's great. Thank you.
All righty. John, any questions?
I don't think so. This is very instructive to me. I have to say that.
Okay. Linda, do you have a question?
No, I just, in full disclosure, all 3 of my grandchildren, Williams' kids, have been in her productions at the Dreamland. And one of them was really, really shy. And it was very productive for her to do that. You could see her being shy on stage, but she powered through it and she enjoyed every minute of it. So I know how important it is. And there's a lot of interest in this in the public, because I couldn't even get into one of the shows because it was sold out.
Right.
And then the show I could get in, it was sold out. So, I mean, there's a tremendous amount of interest in this. And I know what Stand Up and Learn, because I work with those guys, the Stand Up and Learn program has done for the kids, an improv type thing where you can sort of vet yourself. And it's very productive, this type of thing, theater. I was in theater all through school and in here in Nantucket. And it was always very productive for people who don't get out there, who don't put themselves out there. They put them in touch with their own emotions because they have to portray that somehow on stage. So I'm very jazzed about this particular program.
All right. Sue?
My question is, will English language learners will they have the same access as native English speakers?
Yes. And Sassy Nash, who is in Hawaii at a family wedding, is our educational programming coordinator, and she is bilingual. She is of Mexican descent. She is Spanish speaking is her first language.
Great.
And that has been an incredible asset for us. And in fact, just sort of anecdotally, whether it's because of SASE or maybe the welcoming, our population of English language learners has grown quite a bit in our programs, which is really exciting to see. So yes.
Thank you. That's really important to
Mhm.
me. And then your application mentioned doing like an evaluation. Is that like a survey? Like how are you defining how that would be?
So there are a couple of reference points that we would absolutely reach out to educators and have them say narratively if they've seen any change. We would, I'm always curious about how students are in giving feedback, but if they do it in a way that they're anonymous, I think that you get more authentic feedback. So we would be seeking a couple of different tools to assess how successful the program was, and also the audience to see the effect, especially on our little people.
Yeah.
Mhm.
That's a good point. And I would just add that that would inform how we evolve and shape and shift this program as we move forward too. You know, this is really important to have a dialogue with the community and with the families and parents and schools and students about which issues we feel are most pressing for this community. And I think that's something we need to remain very plugged into.
Great. All right. My question has to do with current programming and current responsibilities and taking on another whole program, the capacity for that.
Good question.
Um,
Would you like to know how we feel this would fit into our existing programming?
Right, and also, you know, full-time employees at this point, and how can you take this on without additional staff? And does that require additional staff or additional hours in the day? How will you do this?
I love your question and I'm excited about your question. And the reason is because we brought Sassy Nash on specifically to build out our educational programming initiatives.
Okay.
So Sassy was somebody who worked hand in hand with Laura for a long time, producing our theater productions as a stage manager. She's very talented. But where I see us going with the programming at the Dreamland as we lean into our mission being learning and education as well, is building out these educational programming initiatives that work collaboratively with the schools. So that whole position really is committed to supporting a program like this with the backing of Laura, with kind of overarching of how we tie in our theater, our children, and then of course our team being the largest it's ever been. So we now have 12 administrative team members plus additional consultants. Our team's largest is larger than it's ever been. And what that has allowed us to do is grow our programming and the different facets of the programming that you see, such as film, special events, partnership events, collaboration. Education is the next biggest area of opportunity for growth, in my opinion, from where I sit. And I'll let Laura weigh in as well.
Absolutely. And the way that we are able to craft our season, we allocate time in which to serve the schools specifically. For the past couple of years, although we're not doing it this year, we did a program called We Are Nantucket, where we went in and it was an in-school residency, and it was really powerful. There was some administrative changes at CPS, which is where we had done it with a particular classroom teacher for several years. And once there was some movement there, this year we decided to change our focus and to shift it. And so Sassy is building out a couple of other programs, but it was very powerful. It was a film process. It was engaging and it was rigorous. It was rigorous for us as educators, and it was rigorous for the students, and it has a long lasting effect. So we are able to, because now that we have done this for probably 5 years, we know where we can insert those things and then be able to carry it along. and through our own engagement, we always have teachers that want to be involved. So I feel very confident that we would be able to do this. Plus, we are also passionate about it, which makes a big difference. If you love what you're doing and you want that engagement, we will make sure that it happens.
Okay. Second question.
Mhm.
As you can imagine, the ask for the monies that we have available has been great. Can you, produce this program if you got a lesser amount than what you've asked for?
I believe so. Yes, I do. It would be a way of, we'd have to reframe, depending on rights and royalties, for instance. Would we then create original works? Would we lean more into that? Would we do shows that had less of production needs and those sorts of things? I mean, I hate to say, I'm in theater. I can, I'm used to. I'm used to.
Give you what.
You're in theater, you can do just about anything.
That's right. Here's a right painted wooden blocks that I have carried with me for 20 years. Yes.
Yeah.
So
Right.
yes, I absolutely. And would we be able to build something out? No matter, yes, but yes, I feel certain that we could.
I think where it will impact us the most is in our speakers. So if we wanted to
Mhm.
continue with the Casey Neistats of the world, or people who have a very large sphere of influence, that there's a significant cost to bringing them here, housing them, as we all know, production costs. So that's probably where we would have to cut to most drastically,
Okay.
Mhm.
at least until we got this off the ground and found other ways of funding.
Right.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you. That's end of my question. Any more questions? All right. Well, thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Actually, I do have one other. The topics that you're gonna be presenting and working with students on could trigger a lot of emotional response. Partnering with other organizations for that support, I assume?
Absolutely.
Okay.
We would
It's
not,
critical.
yeah, we would, and also the guidance department at the schools are also interested in having this conversation and supporting the program.
Okay, and obviously you have a good hook into the schools,
I do.
so. We like hearing that.
Yeah,
Okay.
congratulations. Not everybody has
Congratulations.
that.
Not everyone
Well,
does.
thank
so
you. Yes,
thank
thank
you.
you.
Mhm. Okay, well, thank you.
Thank you for your
Thank
time.
you.
Yeah,
Appreciate
we
it.
really
Nice to
appreciate
meet
the
you.
chance to talk about this. So thank you very
Okay.
much.
Alrighty,
Thank you all.
all right, have a great
Good
day and
evening.
enjoy the fall weather.
Yes,
You
I'm
know?
actually headed back to rehearsal, so.
Okay.
Exciting. Yes.
The show must go on.
The show must go on, right? Thank you.
Thank you all.
Thank you.
Alrighty, going back to our agenda,
Next, would be
uh,
approval of quarterly reports. There have
Okay.
been 2 added to the list just today. We have another meeting scheduled for Thursday. I think it makes more sense to
Push
review
it.
and then have that discussion then.
right, and we've gotten some additional information because there was missing
Yep.
from our packet, so we will have that
Yep.
before Thursday.
And it will not change the dispersal time for that. It's already after the warrant. So having a discussion today or Thursday doesn't change when the monies go out.
Okay,
So question, we have 2 more applicants, is that what you just said?
No, sorry, 2 more quarterly reports from last year's
Oh.
contract review awards.
Sorry, I was
Right.
like, is there more people who want the
No.
grant money? I didn't know that.
No,
Okay.
no, we're full up on that. Additionally, and I'd like to make this statement under other business.
Mhm.
I just have gone through several hours of training with the procurement office for a new, entirely web-based portal for contract review and all other grant processes for the town.
Ooh.
It was going to be demoed for the youth behavioral health grant program. It's being used now for a bunch of different programs. So I need to do a little bit more research on that and figure out how that's going to impact our process, because it would centralize, instead of emails passing back and forth, it would be an online portal that's gonna be managing a lot of this information and then sharing questions and answers. And the RFP would be distributed exclusively electronic. So that is not 100% a mandate from finance as of yet, but it looks to be, if not this grant period, then the next grant cycle. This procurement system will likely be the official home of grant applications island-wide.
But not for our 2025 cycle, which we will be starting the 2025 cycle, correct?
Yes, so.
All right, I have to stop and think.
No,
The
I know,
numbers are
me too.
confusing.
For the fiscal year 25 awards that we will start receiving applications for this in the coming month, more or less, we will have that it is advised to recommended that we be using this program. I'm going to see how that's going to work out. And if I cannot do it for this period without incurring significant complexities, then I will do that. But it looks to be that if not this year, then if not the awards for fiscal year 25, certainly for subsequent years following from that. This came from Elise Kellogg in finance, who's the chief procurement officer for the town. So that is a thing that's on the horizon. And it is a piece of government software, so it comes with some components to it.
Some kinks that have to be worked out.
On the evaluators side, you would be doing rubric evaluations online through a portal that you sign up with on your website. All of the agencies would be submitting their information through that same OpenGov portal. There's more details to be discovered. If we're not going to use it for this grant process, that'll give me some time to educate properly. But I just wanted to give everyone a heads up that that is something that's floating around.
All right, I'm just gonna play devil's advocate right now, because we are sitting at October 24th. Knowing just moving forward that whatever we do, including deliberations, that has to be done by
December, basically. early
well,
December.
we say, December, and I think that we were talking that by January, we have to be able to get ready to write a report. So how do you see this happening?
So one thing, and this is food for thought. I think that we should do the cannabis grant and the CRC grant at the same time. We should be releasing both RFPs at the same time.
Yes.
We can then maybe extend the deadline so that it's a month of time out for both grants, because we are going to be asking several agencies to submit 2 separate grants during the same period. And then we can then do another version of what we have just done with the interview process and evaluations. I think, given the additional complexity of the digital side, I am going to try and slow roll that for the next, not for the 2025 awards.
Okay.
I should be able to do that. I don't think it's a mandatory thing as of yet, but it is something that is on the horizon and require education both for committee members and also for the applicants.
Mhm.
Given that specific complexity, I think I'm going to just be like, thank you very much. We'll use it for the next time.
Okay.
But
Yeah, it's not a good guinea pig time.
No,
not
we
this
have a-
cycle at all. But there are changes, there are some structural changes coming at finance with different staffing people, and there's going to be some process revisions that are going to be on finances side that are going to be departmental issues. But I am reasonably sure that those can be delayed through until we are done with the 25 allocation of funds.
Okay.
One other thing, if you don't mind.
with y'all grant applications, and I'm just asking for you all to start thinking, because the next meeting, I work with Erica and them with scheduling the meetings. It's getting tight with these 2 rooms, scheduling the meetings. I was wondering if you all could start thinking about, at least for next week, planning out for the whole month of November, December, how we will be needing these when we can meet and we need them, because everybody is coming together these last 2 months and everybody wants these 2 rooms. And I've learned there are more classes, and they're gonna be 2 to 3 hour classes. And I need to try to get us in before she say yes to them and we're told no.
Yeah, well, Tamika, I think that's what we try doing for this cycle. We picked these dates back in September and just planned it out. So to do that for the next cycle, we hear you. And
I'm just letting you know, I just know that things with me asking, even like with the twin, what they're getting filled up, and I'm looking at the schedule, they kind of, this room and this other room is kind of getting filled up pretty quickly.
Right, and beside the rooms getting filled up, we're going into a season between the end of November and the first couple of weeks in December. People have lots of other
Big
obligations, so maybe what we can add into other business on Thursday is to have finish this up and then have a calendar meetup for the next round. Can I ask about the letter for request of funding? Joanna, do you have an update on that?
No, I sent it to her, but I have not heard a word.
Okay. Well, then we're gonna have to check on Thursday when Dorothy will be here on Thursday. Because I'm thinking, first of all, we need to have, before we send out the RFP, there has to be, amount has to be on that RFP. So chicken, egg, which comes first, everything has to happen at the same time.
We have in the past released, that is a very solid thing. The last communication I received from Brian on that was to use 650 and 175 for the 2 splits, as it was last year. That was pre the discussion of the funding increase. We have run processes without knowing the grant amount before, but we have not run one where the uncertainty in the grant amount is like twice the total, like whether it'll be 650 or it'll be 1.3. So we will need to know some idea of what the scope will be before we launch RFPs. So yeah, that needs to be determined.
Could we put it out with a no less than?
Yeah, I mean, I think that in the past, it was an assumption of a certain amount, and then we were either getting more or less after that. But yeah, as of right now, I am not certain. I'm certain that the minimum that we will get is 650 and 175. But I do not know with any certainty what any increase to that will be. And when I spoke to Brian about this, his explanation to me was that this is actually an increase of 175 from allotted funding from the previous year, because the funding source for the cannabis impact money is no longer there. Because in the past, we were assessing an impact cost to the dispensaries on Nantucket.
That's nobody's fault here.
No,
right?
absolutely not. I'm not saying that at all.
That's that's a whole other conversation. I unfortunately have to go, guys, but I will see you all on Thursday, and we can talk a little bit more about this, I think.
Okay, so can we have a motion to adjourn then?
First of all, I do have a question, Tomika.
Yes.
Would you please send out the posting notice on a specific email, because I did not get the posting notice for this meeting, and so I had to go to the website to get myself lodged in. And I don't navigate the website.
I will send it directly to the committee. for this
we'll-
next meeting.
We'll,
And I will make sure the minutes are in that particular one too.
Yeah, John, thank you for asking for that because I know it's an extra step, but it does make things a little more streamlined.
Okay.
so
Okay,
what
so-
we'll do now is we'll send the agenda out the morning of every meeting we have. Is that acceptable to everyone here?
That,
Morning of agenda and link?
if,
I can do
I
the
would
day.
I would rather have it the day before,
Okay.
right,
not the morning of.
right. Thank
All
you.
right, I'll send it out tomorrow. So tomorrow I will have everything sent out for Thursday. It's tomorrow
Yes,
Wednesday.
it's
And what
2 days
time is that
from-
meeting?
10
What time is that meeting on
10
Thursday?
o'clock.
10 to
What
12,
time?
10 to 12 on Thursday, or
Okay,
10 to
We
11?
can go long. I think there's nothing in the room after.
Okay,
Yeah.
but 10 o'clock on Thursday.
okay.
And I'll get that sent out tomorrow morning to everyone with the group email, through the group email for that.
Okay, thank you. All
Thank
right,
you.
with that, a motion to adjourn,
So moved.
I so move.
second?
Second.
All right, let's see, Linda,
Yep.
John,
Yes.
Sue,
Yes, ma'am.
Veronica, yes, and I think we've lost Joanna, but we still had quorum to adjourn, so thank you. Have a great night, everybody.
You too.
All righty.
You.
So.
Thank you.
Bye, everyone. Thank you.